By the way, if you're listening right now, which you totally should.
Should I hit that button? The big
Yeah,
green
sure.
button?
Go on, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I like the pre behind the scenes. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't.
Okay, you pick.
Mostly don't.
Mostly don't, because whatever. You tell us. Yeah.
What I was going to say is, if you're listening to this and you are not joining us in the 45 live,
Ooh, baby, I know day one. I still have to do my video
shame
today.
on you.
Shame on you. That's right.
I'm kidding. I don't want to shame you for not wanting to participate in something, but I highly encourage you to join us in 45 live. And I don't know why I'm pointing to the camera, because it's the background. Like, nobody can see me right now.
I know. It's gonna be fun, FONZI. I'm excited. Season 4 of 45. Like, can you believe?
I know.
it's
Yeah,
been
you
4
know what I
seasons?
love? I love the message this morning that you sent me, that you were like, did we start at 45 live today? I was like, yes, dude, we talked about it. You should know that we were starting today.
Okay, full disclosure. By the way,
Aye.
why I bring this on? Full disclosure. What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I thought we were gonna campaign for a little bit to get people in there, and you're like, no, man, let's do it. I love that, man. I want to congratulate you publicly, because that is you evolving. That is you evolving. All right.
I thought the deal that we had was like, we weren't gonna do this one as season 3, that we had the whole support, like the whole group, the whole big campaign. It was just gonna be, let's launch it. Let's invite people to participate as well, which we're doing,
Yeah.
right? And if they want to tag along the road, awesome. But we're kind of like, if we wanted to offer that support, I think we needed to definitely plan a little bit more, because it was very intensive.
Yeah, if you want the support, January 24th, guys, keep that day in your calendars. All right, with that said, I think we're ready to rock and roll. FONZI, you ready? Yeah, you are ready. You are ready.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
Let me zoom in a little bit. So my fake glasses, they don't have any.
Your fake glasses.
There we go.
All right.
We've got
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast,
where we talk about entrepreneurship, mindset, and of course, how to turn your content into profit.
That's right. Guys, go ahead and head over to contentsprofit.com to get started today and join the community, because you will be joining in season 4 of 45 Live, baby. Let's go. By the way,
That
you
is
can join
right.
if we're like day 10. That's fine. That will be your day 1. It's so awesome. It's a rolling thing. And by the way, we have a surprise for you, January 24th. Oh,
That is right. If you're looking to be consistent, publish consistently, share your message, and help more of the people you want to serve, you want to go to contentisprofit.com, join the 45 Live Challenge, baby. We are going all out. We're not waiting for these New Year resolutions. We are just ending the year with momentum and coming into 2022 like a freaking wrecking ball. Where's Miley Cyrus right here? We needed it.
there we go. Crowd is going crazy. FONZI, tell me, what are we talking about today?
That is right. Today we're talking about turning your goals into actionable steps.
Yes.
And
Yes.
actually, we're going to be talking about way much more. I think this doesn't really encompass all what we're going to be talking about, because we have an epic guest.
I know.
If you know what I did there.
Hey! All right, I saw that. Ooh, I love this. But FONZI,
What is
do
it?
we have a sponsor?
Thank you for asking, good sir.
You're
Indeed,
welcome.
we do. We do have a sponsor, and today's sponsor is your own, the BIZBROS. Yes, we sponsor our own podcast with Content Momentum. And you might be asking yourself, what is Content Momentum? Well, if you need a fractional content team, right? If you produce a long-form piece of content, you need to multi-purpose it, or you just need help with your content strategy, baby, we're here for you.
Ooh.
We're going to help you out, take it to the next level.
Can I show them how it sounds?
Yes. How does it sound?
Oh, yeah,
That is
that's right.
So if you need help, make sure you slide in the DMs at BIZBROSCO on Facebook, on Instagram.
That's right. Go ahead and follow the show, because every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, these episodes are dropping on your favorite platform with incredible value, or what we call golden boulders, so you can grab that content momentum, traction, and progress, and I don't know what I'm doing, into your life and business. Let's go. I don't know.
And you know, I feel like we need some like vocalization exercises.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word.
Yeah.
You know, before we start
I know.
the show.
Episode 226, and here we go. All right.
But it's all good, guys. If today's guest helped you move one step forward to your goal, towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode with 3 of your friends. Remember, that is your ticket of admission to this epic episode. And leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Hope you're ready for today, as we have another one of our new epic friends that we met at George Bryant's event. We bonded over dad jokes, a freezing plunge in a lake in Montana, but most importantly, his mission to help fathers.
Pretty epic indeed. Today's guest, serving the military. Thank you so much for your service. And now is building the Epic Dad company to positively impact fathers and create a better world. But I'm not a dad. You might be saying, hey, it doesn't matter. Trust me, this guy is about to impact you like none other.
And let me tell you, he's a total badass with a great mission. He'll also help you break down your vision and goals and turn them into actual tangible action steps so you can gain real momentum.
Oh, yeah, baby. Please welcome host of the Epic Dad Legacy podcast, founder of Epic Dad Company, the most epic dad of all, Drew Camp. What's up, Drew?
What's up, Luis? That might be the man right off the bat with the buzzer. I love it. Yeah, that might be the most epic intro I've ever gotten. So I'm gonna have to record this and probably play it to myself like every morning in the mirror.
Absolutely.
Hey, yeah, I love it. I think we're gonna have to start a service like that. Just like morning hype ups.
Morning hype ups, yeah, for you. But Drew, man, like we connected in this event, and it was wonderful. We ended up in this rodeo together, and just sharing a bunch of stories.
Dude, I totally forgot about the rodeo. Should have put that in the intro.
I know, bro. What happened to you, man? Come on.
It's like,
yeah, and it's been a pleasure. You know, we learned so much about the company that you're building, why you're doing it, and as a dad, I can relate, and I'm like, man, we need more people like you, and we need more people like you sharing the message, or we just need more of you. So for those who are not familiar with Drew, can you share a little bit of your story, right? Like what, where you coming from? Why do you decide to start this company, and where are you guys going?
Yeah, for sure. So first off, just thanks for having me on the show. And, awesome to meet you guys out in George's event. Just shout out to George. That event was absolutely incredible. Just, obviously he's like the master at like, online marketing and email and customer journey and stuff like that. And so learned a ton from him from there, but really the stuff that I didn't expect from George's event was all around like the personal stuff. Right. And I think I probably cried like every day at his event on multiple occasions, which is something that I did not expect. Right. But was like exactly what I needed, just to help out in life. And so, yeah, huge shout out to George and shout out to meet you guys there. But so a little bit about me and kind of how this company came about was, so I was in the military for a few years, active duty, got out, and then kind of just went to work in the corporate life, right? Went back to school, got my MBA, was just kind of working the career path. Everything kind of changed for me, like when I had a kid. I'm sure, same for you. Your life definitely changes at that point, right? Like you're not just responsible for yourself now, you're responsible for like creating a future for, a child. This is a huge responsibility.
So I want to challenge that
what
a little bit.
What do you want to?
I want to
challenge.
My life didn't really change much because I was already taking care of FONZI. So
That's true. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Jokes aside, yes, that is 100% true. Like we can share those stories later, but yes, you are 100%.
Yeah, I think like my wife is pregnant right now, right? We're expecting a baby number 3. So I've got 2 girls. I've got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old girl, and then we've got a boy on the way, which I'm not sure I believe it yet until like he comes out that it's a boy, because all of my family has is girls. But like she's 23 weeks pregnant right now, and like it still hasn't sank in for me, right? It's like, yeah, like there's going to be another kid here, but like until he's here, it's just kind of like just in your mind somewhere, and it's not a reality. But once that you're in the delivery room, and that kid pops out, it's completely changes. You're like, holy shit, like this is a human being I'm responsible for. And so that was a big moment in my life. And then I think where the company started, like I love being a dad. It's one of like the best things ever. And I think where the company was born from was really just looking at like our country today, and just kind of the culture, right? Like I think we could probably agree there's been a declining culture over the past 30 to 40 years, right? And the traditional family has kind of gone by the wayside. If you look at just some of the stats, I say 43% of U.S. homes of children are in homes without a father. And that is just a staggering stat, right? And if you think about the role of the dad, the role of the father in the family and in the community is huge, and it's going to have a huge impact on a child, obviously. But like as that child grows up without a dad, they're going to become a member of society, right? If they don't have that positive role model that's teaching them, that's coaching them, that's helping form them, I think that's why we are where we're at today as a culture. So I think that's kind of how the company started, was like, hey, like, what am I really passionate about? Being a father, and also, just our country and kind of our culture, making sure we're on the right path. And how do I combine those two, just to see if I can have an impact on dads, to be a better father, be a better provider. But at the end of the day, the mission is very broad, and that, like, as we impact fathers, it's going to ultimately impact our country and the world.
Absolutely.
Because, we're bringing up the next generation in the right way,
Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
I love it. Like, we grew up in Venezuela, right? Like, we grew up in a very close home. Like, we're one of those lucky ones that, our dad or mom, they were together, they're still together, they love each other, right? Like, and we took that for granted, maybe.
Mhm.
And then we come here to the States, and that was a big shock personally for me, to learn that a lot of the families are separated, right? Like, it is not a common thing in the environment that we grew up, right? A lot of our friends, maybe the very minority had, separated parents, but we never really understood, like, that was a problem, right? And now that I'm a dad, right? Man, like, it's really scary out there, and we're like, okay, as a family, right, we gotta stay together, and there's not much guidance out there, I guess. And we've related it in the show before, like, with building a team, with building a company on its own, same thing, right? Like, what are those values, what are those things? And I'm currently listening to this historic show about a family that was the wealthiest family in Europe in the 1800s, right? And it was a dad with his 5 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole story that went into it, and they became bankers, and it's fascinating. But it started with family, and one of the things that they mentioned was, like, their principles and values. And the dad, when he died, is like, you guys can do whatever you want except violate these principles and values that we brought into the family, right? So obviously it's so important, and I love the fact that it is a very strong why that we talked about so many times in the shows. Like, why are we creating something? Why are we publishing? Why are we creating a company? And to you, I see that fire, right? And in that, and sky's the limit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But thank you.
What is the name of that podcast? Oh, of the family? I'm interested now. That sounds so interesting. I'm like, I want to listen to it.
Yeah, the name of the family. I'll give it to you.
You don't remember?
In a second.
Right, cool. Yeah, we'll put it in the notes. I think that's a fun thing to bookmark in there.
The Rothschilds.
Yeah,
Rothschilds.
Yeah, it was a Jewish family. The 1800s. They financed, like, literally whole Europe around that time.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look him up. But to not go on a tangent, I heard this somewhat recently, right? I grew up knowing this phrase. I heard it from a teacher. It was like, before you go and serve others and help others, you gotta help yourself first, right? Like, if you haven't helped yourself, it's very difficult to actually help others. And recently, I don't remember who I heard it from. I want to give credit, but I heard something about, like, there's all these people with incredible missions, like all these, like, grandiose, I don't know if that's a word, mission, and but they don't work on themselves, right? Like, they're just going out there and then they're, like, being miserable and all these things. And then he said, you got to start by changing yourself, then changing your home, then that will change the community, then that will change the city, that will change the country, that will change the world, right? So just like you're saying, like, it starts with you, but then your immediate home, right? They're the people that you got close, your kids, your partner, your wife, a husband, whatever. And I'm curious, right? Because, like my brother said, we took it for granted, but in here, it does seem like a lot of people that I meet is like, oh yeah, like, I grew up, single parents and all that stuff. What is that, like, in more specific terms, like, some of these consequences that you've seen of people growing without a dad specifically in this scenario?
Yeah, and I think, just to address, like, where we're at in this country, right? I mean, I think the divorce rate is around 50% or so, maybe even be above 50%, right? And that in itself kind of speaks to our culture, just around, like, commitments that we make and things like that. But even outside of that, right, is, in a separated home, like, I'm lucky enough to have, like, an amazing wife, amazing partner. We've been together 11 years now.
Wow.
We've got a great relationship, but like we have problems just like anybody else does. Right. But we made the commitment to each other that like, we're going to work through those, like we're in it for life. Right. But in some cases, like, hey, some things might happen, right? With like adultery or, some stuff that you just can't get past and like, you've got to separate. Like, I understand there's those circumstances, but you as a father, like you still need to play a role in your child's life, right? Like whatever that is, if it's, going to be, hey, picking up the kids on the weekend or whatever, like you need to have a role in their life and an active role, even if it's not a 2-parent family. Just because we've seen the impacts of that on our culture of the dad not being there, right? So it looks like, hey, we're going to have, increased poverty rate, right, with single parent homes. We're going to have increased suicide rates. We're going to have increased crime rates. So if you just look at all the statistics, I wish I had them up here in front of me. I'd share them with you, but it is staggering the amount of things that come with a fatherless home. So like I said, increased, child and teen suicide, way increased dropout rate, way increased crime rate. So if you're just a data person and you look at that and you say, wow, like, what's the common denominator here? The dad's not present, right? The dad's not the role model. So I think that's the impact that we see in the culture. And then it becomes normalized too, right? Of like, hey, I didn't grow out, or I grew up without my father, so I'm okay, having a single parent home and kind of continuing that path. And so, yeah, it's on us as dads to start to step up and say like, hey, even if the relationship is not great, like I need to be the man in the relationship and you need to be the provider for my kid. Like no matter what the relationship looks like with my spouse or
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned something there about, like you guys have problems. Like it's natural. Every relationship has, right? And I think that's very important because I feel like we are living in a moment where there's a lot of preaching on, searching for happy. Like you gotta be happy. You always gotta be happy. And I actually, I was listening to one of George's podcasts on my way here and they were talking. The topic was different, but I think it applies to this. The guy was like, it's just BS, like being happy 100% of the time. Like that doesn't exist. What we need to teach people is like to learn how to deal with discomfort, with like those internal feelings that come. How do you deal with those? How do you process those? Like you cannot be reactive, right?
Yeah.
And now there's like a back end to this question that I want to ask, which is, dating right now seems very different than it was 30, 40 years ago, right? You got all this technology, Tinder, like all these things, right? That makes pretty much unlimited. It gives people unlimited options, right? I feel like. And I think, and honestly, I'm gonna speak here from my personal experience. I'm in a relationship. I've been in a relationship for about 4 years, kind of like on and off a little bit. We've been, working on these differences. But the times where I was single and I was looking, okay, I want to meet somebody. The fact that there were so many options out there that I was like, is this the right person or is there somebody better? Right? Like, I feel like you're always like thinking on like, oh, somebody better. And then when you find someone, you're like evaluating that risk. I'm like, do I stay with this person or, oh, there's so many more options out there. Should I go and like look for another option? And I think that mindset right there, when then people transition into, getting married and all the stuff affects the foundation of those marriages and staying together. So, before diving into the epic dad journey and the mission and all this, how do you see kind of like that current state of choosing your partner, right? The handling of those emotions that come with settling with somebody to build a life with.
Yeah.
How does that affect, the dad staying in the family or, vice versa?
Yeah. No, I mean, great question. Like, I wasn't around in like the Tinder swipe left, swipe right, dating scene. So like, I don't know what that's like. I can't speak on it, but yeah, I'm sure that certainly plays an impact, but I think it comes down to like during this day and age, because you have so many options and, like dating availability is like so prevalent. I think a lot of men these days have difficulty making commitments and making decisions. Right. And like, I knew from when I met my wife and, asked her, hey, do you want to marry me? And thankfully she said yes. It was from that point in time, like my mind was made up. Like that was it, like done. and like, hey, whatever happens down the line, like we're together, right? Like I'm making this commitment to you, like for life. I think men like these days, they just have an issue with commitment, right? Of like, hey, what if there is something better out there? Hey, what if this happens on the line and I'm not happy? Like you mentioned earlier, like the end result with marriage, in my view, is not like just to be happy, right? Like if you're looking for that, like just go have one night stands all the time. Like, you'll be happy for a night, but then you'll be miserable. Like the goal is to like build a life with somebody, to grow with somebody, to develop with somebody over time, I think is the goal. And like with that commitment is going to come a lot of struggle too, right? And a lot of like personal growth, both for you and your spouse. So yeah, I think it just comes down to a commitment thing and being like, hey, this is who I'm going with, and for better or for worse, like we're stuck together, we're gonna make this work.
Yeah, I think I related to shiny object syndrome, right, in the business side of things. Like it's like, okay, because we lived it, we were in that space, building the company, and we're like, well, what if we try this, or what if we try that, and what if we try this? And at the end of the day, it's about the decision that we make as human beings, but that comes not from the external options, right? Because they're always going to be there. There's always going to be distractions, right? It comes down from within us, right? And we grew up playing soccer. There was a time where we made the decision that soccer was going to be the sport that we needed to focus on to find opportunities, right? To go play pro, to go and get a scholarship in any one US school, right? Like, and that was a decision that's being made. And just like in relationships, right? When, I got married to Katie, same thing, like that's a decision, right? Yeah. And then we have to work through our differences. We have to work through our issues, no matter what the situation is. But also, right, in the business side of things, it's like, okay, or even the content side of things. So we want to go directly to the thing. What do I publish? What do I say? Like, is it the right thing? What platform do I use, right? So at the end of the day, the problem it has to be the root of the problem. We have to dig deep inside of us and be like, okay, what is this? Is it that I don't believe in my marriage? Is it that I don't believe in my business? Is it how many times in this past 7 years we've sat down and we're like, man, it is challenging. Do we really believe in what we're doing, right? Like recently, it happens very often, right? And with the people that we bring into the show, you're nodding, and I'm assuming that you've had that conversation with yourself, with your wife, and be like, man, I really believe in what I'm building. So no matter what happens, this is my decision. This is what I'm gonna go through. And we've go back and we've studied a lot of people that have successful businesses. And what is it? Is the decision that is the thing that they're going to do, and they're going to figure out until the end. So it works with relationships. It works with your business. It works with your content. So what is that root? Like, what do you think that root there is? What do you think it is? Because
I think on the business side, I think it's easy. It's like, what is your vision? What is your mission? Right. Of like, what am I actually trying to accomplish? Who am I trying to impact? Right. And like, how am I trying to impact them? And then every decision that you make from there for your business, like, can just align from there, right? And so even though it may not work out, like hey, if I want to go and do a podcast, which I'm doing right now, like, hey, it may flop totally, right? But I'm like, hey, I'm doing it, to support the overall mission. And so like, if it fails, like whatever, I'll just take that as a learning lesson, right? And continue down that mission. So like, I think for business, for sure, like, I think that's it. I think on the relationship side, probably it's like a search for purpose, a search for meaning, and we're trying to fill that void, right? Of one is like where we have difficulty making decisions and sticking with them, but we also have difficulty in like finding our purpose, right? And like filling that void. And so what we do is like, because we think that the marriage, the relationship is just supposed to be like happiness all the time. Like as soon as we hit a snag, we're like, I don't think this is what it's supposed to be. Like, maybe let me go try something different. But like, if your mission, right, from the time that you make that commitment with that person, if your mission is, hey, like, I'm going to love and support you no matter what, and we're going to work through this together. Like when you hit that snag, like, all of a sudden it's like, all right, we'll just use it as a learning lesson, right? Like same thing we do in business, like to move forward, like down the journey,
Yeah. I love what you mentioned right now. It's like, just like in business, like that phrase, because I've been thinking on, again, I'm not married, but how similar is a business to a marriage, right? I mean, you're talking about mission, you're talking about vision, right? You're talking about influence in your business. You're influencing the people you want to serve. In your marriage, you're influencing the people that you want to serve, right? Which are your kids, which is your wife, right? As well. And obviously a mutual agreement in there. You guys have a mission probably and a vision. Where do we want to take this family, right? What are our core values? Businesses, they got core values. I see so many similarities in here. And I'm curious, what do you see? Like, does it make sense to you as well? Is it similar? Do you treat it, differently in a way?
I've honestly never thought about it like that before, but like as we're having this conversation, like, yeah, there are a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities for sure. I think there's probably a difference in relationships and business from the point of like, hey, if the P&L is going south, right? Like we drop bait, but with the relationship and with the marriage, it's like, hey, we need to do everything we can to make this work and with to fulfilling our commitment. So yeah, I think there's definitely some like core foundational differences for sure, but a lot of similarities for sure. I haven't really thought about it that way.
I love it. Drew,
some food for thought in there. Let us know if you're listening to this. Let us know in the comments and send us a message. What are your thoughts on marriage and business? What overlaps? And I'm curious if you have a different opinion too. Feel free to share it.
Yeah. You have some military background. We do not have any military background. So I massively respect what you do. Yeah. And I'm very interested, right? We often talk about the similarities with like being an athlete or having an athletic mindset with the military, applying it into business, right? And then where I really want to go with this is the action steps, right? You share with us that you're really good at breaking these things down. And so many times, FONZI, definitely idea guy, dreaming 100% of the time, right? Like, which is incredible, right? And he's become a lot better at doing that. Me, not so good, right? I'm like, I continue to dream. I'm like, okay, how to do that? That's an area that I personally have struggled a lot. Where it's like,
you're making me look good in here. I appreciate it. Thank you,
bro. You look good. Look at that beard. So nice. But here's the thing, right? Like we often, as maybe entrepreneurs and people that are starting a business, right? Like we have this massive vision, right? And we're like, oh my gosh, like this is the result. And it happened to me personally in soccer too. Like I had the vision of being a professional soccer player, but when there was a stage where things started to happen, I was like in the weeds of it. I was very close. I was having a very negative experience and I lost that, right? And I lost it. I was like, I'm done, right? And that happened. That turned out to be coming here in the US and turned out fine. But with the business, sometimes we lose that vision and then we cannot see past like 5 meters in front of us and we're like, okay, or 5 yards. How do we actually create those actionable steps, right? How do we go about that?
Yeah. So great question. Like, I think it's gonna be a little bit different in business and then like in like personal life, but I think it follows the same framework. So what I'll share with you guys is, I'll agree with you. Like I'm a more of a vision person myself, and like I haven't always been great at this. I'm like the big pie in the sky guy, and like whatever, we'll just go make it happen, right? But I think like over time, like I've learned the skill, and some of it's been from the military. Some of it's been just from like personal, professional development and, listening to other people in the space and kind of like developing like, my own methodology for it. But what I like to do is I'll start at the top level and kind of work my way down, and then we'll move in towards the business lane too. But I like to, I'll just kind of give you the name of the framework. It's called the Elite 4 methodology for like goal planning. And really like where it starts is this is on personal goal setting. It's like evaluating your life and putting things into like 4 buckets. And so I tried to make sure that like these buckets are all inclusive. And I think you guys would probably agree, like everything would fit into these buckets. And it's really easy to remember. It is, it's your body, your mind, your relationships, and your financials. Right. And so the acronym that you can use to remember is just, can I cuss on this show? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Be real, motherfucker. All right. Yeah. Pretty easy to remember. Right. So what I do is basically like say, hey, okay, let's take out a sheet of paper. Let's write down those four things. Right. Your body, your relationships, your mind, and your financials. And when I talk about those 4 things, like what I really mean for body is just around like, hey, your physical appearance, like what do you want to look like, your strength, your stamina, your health, your longevity. For relationships, like pretty obvious there around like your spouse and your children. But also think about like your friends, any mentors, any coaches that you have. And then when we're talking about mind, it really comes down to like your mental clarity, your focus, your peace, your vision, religion, spirituality can fall into that bucket as well. And then financials, right? That's where kind of the business lane comes in. Is like, what does your wealth look like? What type of income goals do you have? Investments, philanthropy, things like that. So those are the 4 buckets. And then what I like to do is write those down and then get extremely clear on what do you actually want in those buckets and why do you want them. And this is kind of creating the vision or like the roadmap for your life. And this is like long-term goals, right? Like this doesn't need to be tangible things you can feel. It shouldn't be like, I want to have a 6-pack in 90 days or something. Like that's not what we're talking about right now. It kind of goes back to that purpose and that vision, right? So like, for relationships, just to give the example, since we're talking about family, hey, like your perfect kind of ideal state for that would be, hey, like I have, 4 hours a day that I get to spend with my family and be like presently engaged with them. We go on 2 vacations a year. And you're kind of like laying out, like, what does life look like for you? Like in its perfect state in each of these categories. And that's kind of setting the vision, right? And then from there, what I like to do is I like to set 90-day increments. So I set everything quarter to quarter. And I basically, out of those categories, I know what my vision is. And then I break that down into what tangible steps can I take and what goals can I set quarterly to make sure that I'm taking action towards that overall vision, right? And then you're just breaking down into, 90-day chunks. And then even further than that is, okay, on a day-by-day basis, like how can I write down what I call execution tasks on a daily basis of like, for each of those buckets, like what's 1 or 2 things I can do today that's going to move the ball forward and get me closer to that 90-day goal. Yeah. Which is then in turn going to get me towards my ultimate vision. So that's kind of like in a nutshell. There's a lot that goes behind it, but it's vision, quarterly goals, and then daily tasks.
Incredible. I love it.
Be real, motherfucker.
That's right.
What's the horn drop on that?
Yeah, that's right. There we go. That was a golden boulder, by the way. Like, golden boulder. And here's why. Yeah, sorry. I apologize. It was a golden boulder.
You're slacking.
And I'm slacking because I was going in my head through your framework, and I remember a stage where I was pretty diligent on doing something like that. And progress start happening. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Right? And then we're like, oh, okay, I get busy. And then one night you're like, I'm not going to do the planning for the next day, or I'm not going to do this. And then you fall off.
Yep.
And then you're like, man, my life is a mess, right? It's like, what's happening? I feel everything's falling, right? And then...
Yeah, I think like totally relate with that, right? Like, like just my real world situation right now, right? It's like we moved from Colorado. Well, we moved from Georgia to Colorado, back to Georgia, all in a span of like 4 months. And we sold our house. We're building a new house. And so like my life has been chaos, right? For like the past 4 months. And we're expecting a new child. Yeah. And so, like I do the same thing, right? I'm like, if I don't create structure in my life and like plan, right? Like actually plan what I want to get done, what are my execution tasks and have goals. Like I just feel like complete shit. I could still be going out and like going and exercising, doing whatever, but I'm like, I don't have like a direction, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just going from like chaos to clarity, and it just kind of provides that framework of being like, okay, I know where I'm going. And even if I get off track one day or 2 days, like I still know what my goal is and I know what I need to do today.
Yeah. I love that, man. This is, who comes to mind? I'm pretty sure you know who, I forgot his name. Willink, what's his name?
Yeah, Jocko.
Jocko Willink, right?
Yeah, Jocko with an A.
Oh, Jocko Willink. We'll make sure we know his name properly next time. But he always says, discipline is freedom, or something along those lines, right? And I personally didn't. I'm not gonna say I didn't believe in that, but literally when I started the journey of entrepreneurship, or honestly, even pre that, my soccer journey, I just wanted freedom, right? Yeah. Let's call it freedom. And I think people misinterpret freedom with doing what they think freedom is doing whatever you want to do, at all times, like no strings attached and having, no weight over you independently of whatever decision you take. And personally, now I find out that is not true. That is not honestly what like freedom is like. And the more I stay in this journey, the more I see the value on discipline, right? On structure, organization, just like you said, all these things, because the times in my life where I haven't had any of that, I struggle a lot. I'm lost, right? You don't have direction, you don't know what to do, or you're doing things just to feel busy, right?
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, why am I not hitting my goals, or I'm not where I want to be? Well, guess what? You're probably just running totally in the opposite direction.
Yeah. I mean, the analogy that I like to give is like, okay, let's say, we made the decision. I'm living in Georgia, right? Let's say we made the decision, like we set a goal, just like a random goal, right? Of like, hey, I want to just drive to California, right? We're like, cool. That's your vision, right? Of getting to California. And so you can just hop in the car, start driving, like you're probably going to get there at some point in time, right? If you, hustle hard enough, if you work hard enough, like you may get there, right? Or you may get lost. But like the better plan is like saying, I want to go to California. And then now let me build my map on exactly how I'm going to get to California, right? And like maybe going on your map and then, you get off track a little bit. Like we had those days, we had those weeks, we're just kind of in a funk where we're not going to make progress. Like that's okay. But like you've got the vision where you want to go. You got the roadmap. So just get back on track and cut yourself some slack, you've got the map laid out in front of you.
I love
Absolutely. I mean, that has been like a fundamental part of what we're learning, especially me personally. What I've been learning this like past year or two specifically is, okay, I need to be more disciplined. I need to have more structure. And honestly, I struggle a lot with that, right? I'm going to change the words on that. I used to struggle. I'm conquering that discipline and structure, right? And honestly, the more I do it, the better it feels. But there is a real challenge, right, for many people out there to be disciplined, to put their head down and work on the things that they need to work, to pay the attention to the things they need to pay attention and move that needle forward. Why do you think that is? And I'm extremely curious because, again, I'm pretty sure you have to be pretty disciplined in the military, Yeah,
I mean, that's probably like, obviously a big component of that and kind of the methodology and the thought behind it is just kind of having that framework around discipline. And like, in the military, you got to be at formation at like 5 a.m, right? And you're like, I don't want to do it. You're like, well, you got to do it, right? Like it's going to force you to do things that you don't want to do. And so I think, obviously like have an advantage there of having that built in, just a kind of overall structure. But like when we talk about discipline, and I'll just say right now, like I'm not the guru or the expert or anything like that. Like I fail all the time too at this. But one thing that I found, and actually, if you guys go listen to the Epic Dad Legacy podcast, episode 6.
Yes, let's go. All right. Exclusive.
So I talk about doing something every day that is going to challenge you, right? And I call it, I think I call it like intentional stress or purposeful stress. And really what this is like, you should be doing something every single day to where your mind is saying, I don't want to do that, right? But then you overcome that and you do it anyway. And the example that I give in that podcast and something that I do every day and have implemented in my structure is a 30-second cold shower. Like, and it sucks. I hate it. I don't look forward to it. Like I'm in the shower, it's super warm and I'm like, I really don't want to do this right now. And I'm like, why don't I just hop out? But I have that little voice in my mind saying like, no, you told yourself you would do this. And then I think the more things that you can implement in your life, it's going to help build that discipline muscle, right? And like, I know that's something super small, like 30 seconds in a cold shower, like what's the big deal? But that's something that you committed to yourself that you're going to do. You don't want to do it because it sucks. Like if anybody's taking a cold shower, it sucks. It's not fun. But you commit to it and you do it, you're just going to build that discipline muscle. And so like you can get more comfortable with having more discipline in your life.
Absolutely. I love it. The other day I was, we practice being grateful. Right. And, we came from a crazy city, crazy country. Like there's a lot of poverty out there. We were pretty okay. Like we were middle class. Okay. Like money wise. Right. But still was a challenge to come to a new country with like a suitcase and that's it. And we had to work really hard to keep our scholarships and XYZ, like personal life. Like that's a whole different podcast that we could do on that. But I was driving out of the neighborhood that that we live in now. And, it's a very nice community, very close to my in-laws. Like, it's the house probably more than we ever need. It's beautiful. Right. And then I was like, man, I became soft.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because here, Fonzie and I were like super excited about this idea that related to soccer, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is so good, but it's gonna put us in a position that we're gonna be so out of our comfort zone that is not even like, yeah, you cannot even express. And immediately, I'm very excited about this idea, like we sometimes are with our publishing, our business, our relationships, right? And then all of a sudden, your mind goes like, well, this is gonna go wrong because, or you're not gonna be able to complete that, and then it just takes a lot of work, so don't do it, right? And then my mind started going there, and I'm like, man, I like cut it off, and I'm like, why am I being such a pussy? Like, no, man, I gotta go do it, right? And I started thinking about moments in my life that we were this, like at 15. Freaking went to Italy and we played soccer there, not knowing any Italian. At 18, we went to Spain and we played soccer there, not knowing anybody, right? That we came to this country and we're like, okay, I've done these things. So, we ran Tough Mudder, Spartan races. We done 24-hour races, and we're like, man, what happened, right? And it's that thing. And then the second I started going back to those experiences, and I'm like, we got to do this, right? Like, what happened, right? We got to do this, right? And I think that's so important too with, continuing that habit, because if you break it, and then you become very comfortable to your position, which, I have nothing against people that my wife is like that. She loves to be comfortable. That's what she wants to do. That she's really, really happy about it. And she has no desire to go through the things that we go through. But like, if you are that person that wants to go through those things, right? We have to assume the responsibility, and we have to continue to build those habits so we can grow as people, we can learn, and we can fail, and we can get up again, right? Like you guys did, like you do every single morning with that cold shower. So thank you for that reminder.
When I realized we were soft when we met when we met all these guys in Montana.
Yeah,
Dude, when we met you guys, all of you guys, it's like, yeah, my hobby is, I don't know, I go and wrestle bears, and I every morning I swim on a freezing lake, and I was like, what? Dude, like all these people are so freaking badass, and I look at my brother and I'm like,
what happened?
Dude, no, like we are so soft. Like our hobby is just go play soccer. It's like,
no kidding, Drew. Like, I think maybe I shared this story with you, but we were like in this dinner one night, and the guy in front of me worked the oil fields in Canada, then traveled the world, like it lives in a van, right? Badass. The guy next to him, he quit his job in like New York, in the Wall Street, to go spearfish, right?
Yeah, he became like a
spearfishing influencer, right? Living in the middle of nowhere, right? The other guy next to us, he hunts bears for fun, and you're like, what? And then they're like, what? So what do you do? And we're like, well, we do a live show. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, dude, that just crossed my mind. But the other thing that I wanted to say, pretty important, is I'm actually reading a book right now by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. I don't know if you have heard about that book.
Yeah, I'm right now.
But pretty much the premise is that he's kind of like interviewing the devil, right, and saying why is he stopping people from making progress, right? Like 98% of people are like stuck in this world and like blaming others and all that stuff. And it's obviously like a fiction interview, but is very insightful. And honestly, I love the information that he shares in there. And he says it's all about faith and fear, right? And as soon as we have like these ideas, like the devil, and I'm doing like air quotes in here, like puts fear inside of your mind, and it just tries to stop you from taking action, all the stuff. But when you're like, faith is like greater, right, than fear, then it's like when you take action. So you need to learn how to remove that fear from your life, not listen to the fear in your life, not pay attention, right? And I think we live in a world that is so difficult, so challenging, right? To tune out that fear, right? Like we have all these opinions from other people, right? Everything that's going in the media showing you, oh, if you do this, it's bad. If you do this, it's bad, right? And I feel like it's just kind of like caging people from living their best life, going out there and challenge themselves, get themselves in uncomfortable situations where it's actually where you're gonna, break through, or how Bram Boger says, breaking beyond, and living honestly a better life. So I'm curious, right, from your point of view, you experience a lot of things in your life, right? Again, military, now being a dad, and now you're preaching that to other parents, right, to other fathers, to live their best life, and probably they need to step out of that comfort zone. So can you guide me a little bit about this? How do you help others step outside of their comfort zone?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something like I said, I'm not like the best at, right? And I'm not the expert at. This is something I'm still challenged with every day. And I think honestly, George's event has helped me out a lot from that perspective of being like, hey, because like this right here, right, going on your show is probably something 4 months ago I'd be like, no, there's no way. like I'm not ready for that. Like, like who would listen to me? Who cares about what I have to say? Kind of like all these internal things, right? This fear is coming out, but I think I've gotten to the point now where like I feel like what I have is of value, even though I'm not, again, like the expert of each guru, but like I know that what I share, if it helps one person, like it's worth putting it out there. So like from a content perspective, just to relate it back to, content is profit is like, like I have a lot of knowledge, right, around being a dad, around driving value through like goals and things like that. And although I'm not like the world premier at that, I'm probably way ahead of that than some other people, right?
Yep.
And so I almost have like an obligation to share that because I know it's going to help people, right? So I've tried to frame my mind around that to try to get over the fear of like, public speaking or like going on a podcast or like put my name out there. So I think the end mission kind of helps me overcome some of that fear and just get a little bit more comfortable with it. And then I think too is kind of what we talked about before is like by purposely putting things that are going to challenge me like in my life every day, you just build up those reps, right? And you're like, oh, something I don't want to do. Shit, I've done that like, 6 times today already, right? Like it's not a big deal. And then two, what you talked about, Luis, about fear, like I think everybody's going to have fear. Yeah. And it's not necessarily about removing the fear. It's just knowing that like your mission or your faith is greater than that fear, right? Mm-hmm. And so having the courage to, to take that next step and take action and know that like, you're going to figure it out along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you share an important point right there, right? You were saying, first of all, man, you are so freaking humble. I absolutely love it. Right. But you know what you're talking about. You are, right, for many, you are the expert on being an epic dad. So first, I want to encourage people to go and connect with you. But what I wanted to share is, you're saying I'm not the top expert on whatnot. And I feel like that thought right there stops a lot of people from taking the first step. Is like, oh, there's somebody better than me that can do this, right? There's already a guru talking about X, Y, and Z, and I don't know as much as they do. Guess what? You are one step ahead already of a lot of people, and you can help all those people that are behind you. And we used this example once. I haven't used it in a while, but it's kind of like I forgot the name, so I'm gonna butcher it again. But it's kind of like that. The truck that removes the snow from the road.
Snowplow.
How is it called?
Snowplow.
Snowplow. Yeah. So you are the snowplow, and you are creating a road for the cars that are behind you. You are literally just in front of them, just for a little bit. You don't need to be 400 steps away. You don't need to be the ultimate expert, right, to be able to help people. Just by, again, stepping out into a little bit of that uncomfort zone, knowing that you are one step ahead and that can truly help and serve the person that is behind you, it's enough, right? And that is so exciting. And I'm glad that you are doing that with fathers, because you are going to change the game, my friend. I can tell it. Your podcast, your brand, what you stand for. I love the swag that you have. Okay, do you have that sticker in your water bottle right there?
Yeah. Epic Dad, and then little Girl Dad AF right there. So
I love that one, Girl Dad AF. That one is so
good. My daughter's walking in. It may get a little loud.
It's all good. So yeah, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We are about, we're getting towards the end here, so we have a few more questions.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions now. Joe, what would be like an action point for, we're talking specifically to dads, maybe people that are transitioning from, their full time into their dream, their company, they're starting to publish, right? So they're going through some of those things that we've been going through, right, all together. So what will be an action point for them to create momentum, to continue to move forward?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think this is something I'm struggling with right now too, right? Is like I'm early in the journey, but I think it kind of goes back towards like the overall mission, right? Like, what do I want to accomplish? And then apologies for my daughters there.
No worries.
Oh, you're good. I'm like, yeah, Luca's about to come in.
Hey, real quick. but yeah, it's really around like, knowing the overall mission, know what you want to accomplish. And then, for guys that have limited time, right? Like being like, I've still got a 9 to 5, right? I think you have to be extremely intentional on what do you want to accomplish that day and like what content do you want to put out in the marketplace.
Yes.
And so that's something that I'll do like to plan the night before of like one of my execution tasks for like the Epic Dad under my financial bucket, right? Will be like the 3 or 4 things that I want to do for the business to move the ball forward. And typically one of those is like, what content do I want to publish today, right? And then because I'm super busy, the mornings is best for me. So like the way I structure my mornings, and again, it's been chaos since we've been like in traveling and all that stuff. So I'm getting better at this as well. But is like one of my big buckets is like I have to work out in the morning, right? That's just something I have to do. But then as soon as I'm done with that, I go to my execution task, right? And so I know like, hey, if I publish this one content piece today, then it's going to move the ball forward. And so I knock that out in the morning or schedule it in advance to come out like later that day in the morning and just knock it out. And so I've got it done. And then I do the same thing the next day, right? I'm just like, hey, how can I continually take like small baby steps forward? And then just get over that fear, like you were talking about, Louise, about like just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I love it. Plan for success, have some structure in your life, discipline, and full circle, going back to what we talked at the beginning, right? It's about that decision making and making a commitment, right? I think starts with the most stuff. Like you said, I wake up every morning, I want to work out, I need to do that. You made a commitment, you get it done. And I think that drips for the other aspects of your life, right? The commitment towards, in your case, towards your wife, towards your family, your kids. So yeah, I want to encourage you listening right now. What is that commitment that you're going to make with content to be consistent and put your message out there so you can serve more people?
True. I commend you, brother. I know, like, with your family, the thing.
Commend you.
You
always say, I command you.
I know. Bro, it's okay. It's you know what? 200 episodes ago, I would have cried, but I'm still crying. But wow, you broke the commending. I commend you, man. Like with everything that you're doing, right? Like, and we've had people in the challenge. We mentioned the 45 Live challenge. Right? We're starting season 4 again, but we had a lot of people that were in that situation, right? At the time, we're full time with BIZBROS, so a lot of things, some of the information was skewed because of that, right? Because maybe we're full-time in the business, but there's a lot of people that are starting to create that are not fully in their business, right? This is something that they're doing on the side, and the commitment has to be there. So you've been removing the friction. You understand, your day. You understand how you think, how you start your days, and that's super important. So thank you so much for sharing that action point. For those that missed it, minute 49, go back a little bit and re-listen to this because it's so important. So thank you, man, for sharing. Thank you for sharing all your experience, what you're doing. Your show, by the way, which we're going to leave all the links right below in the description. So
you can leave me a 1-star review on it. I'm just getting started. But
we're going to go and drop some 5-star reviews. And there's some 10-star reviews. Content is Profit Squad. Make sure you go and leave a review as well on Drew's podcast.
Tomorrow, rising top 10, father national.
Right?
Yeah.
Where can people find your podcast? Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, the podcast, like I said, I just started it. It's got 6 episodes. I'm committing to weekly episodes, and then I'll start having some guests come on. But yeah, it's the Epic Dad Legacy podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify, and probably like wherever else you can find podcasts.
Awesome.
Definitely go check that out. We haven't even mentioned it like during the show because we're just talking content here. But the crux behind the Epic Dad company is going to be around like health and fitness for dads, and so it's a supplement company. We just launched our first pre-workout, the natural pre-workout, like, just for dads. Getting great reviews on it, great feedback. So if you guys are interested in getting after it at the gym, definitely go check out theepicdad.com. We've got some just swag and apparel and stuff, but we're going to go to market with obviously the pre-workout first, but then a lot of nutritional and fitness supplements to help specifically like just for dads as we start to get your knees start to hurt a little bit when you get older, and you got to watch what you're putting in your body. So
yes.
But yeah, absolutely. And let me know what you guys think about the podcast, and would love to hear from everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Dude, thank you so much for sharing about that. I remember when we were in Montana, you were talking to us about that you're about to release kind of like the first batch of the pre-workout.
Yeah,
I follow you.
Nobody's died yet, so that's great.
It's good. It's safe. I follow you on Instagram, and I see some of the reviews that you're posting, and all are good. People are like, "Man, this is awesome. I feel great." You know.
Yeah, it's been about nine months of work going into it just to make sure it's like the best natural pre-workout on the market, and I'm confident it is. It's amazing.
I love it, man. Dude, honestly, I know I don't want to extend too much in here, but my only experience with pre-workout was when we were gonna run a Tough Mudder, and I was drinking Red Bull on my way there, and then when we got there, they gave us C4s.
Yeah,
right?
don't do that one, man. No, don't.
Garbage.
Yeah, C4 is probably like the worst thing you can have. And I remember I drank like half of it. I didn't even drink all of it.
We couldn't stop shaking.
Dude, I was shaking like. I felt like my heart was about to explode, and I was like, I need to start running. Let me get out of here. Like, I need to go. It was a 12-mile run. Dude, it was very intense. So since that moment, I really haven't like dove into like pre-workouts or anything. Honestly, at first I need to dive into the workout.
I'll send you guys some out. Because I like to call it like discipline fuel. Because what I do in the mornings is like I hate getting up early too, right? Like I don't enjoy it, but like I've been, gonna make the commitment to get workout, all that stuff. Like, and so like if I get up and then I'm just gonna like what I do first, I like chug water, right? I'm like, let me hydrate myself, and then I drink the pre-workout, and then I'm like, well, I'm committed now, like I'm gonna be up. I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's so. Yeah. I'm gonna have to start doing that. Get the commitment to work out. Right.
Commitment juice.
Yeah. Commitment juice. Hey, what a good name. Yeah, I like it.
The commitment juice. Drew, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your lessons. Lots of golden boulders. People were going crazy. Just gonna put that out there. Just saying, you did earn it. We were talking behind camera. Like he's like, "Oh man, I love the horn." So yeah, Fonzie's like, "You gotta earn it. You did earn it." Thank you.
Well, good. I earned at least one there.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Joe, before we head out?
Yeah. I mean, last thing is you mentioned Instagram. So you guys can just go to the Epic Dad Co on Instagram, and then kind of all the resources that we've been talking about here, like the 90-day goal planner. You guys can download that for free, like a digital copy. You guys can do that. You guys can sign up for, if you are a dad, if you feel like you're in a funk, right? You kind of want to start building this discipline, we've got a free Epic Dad 7-day challenge.
Yeah.
That's going to force you to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? And start taking some of those actions. And so sign up for that. It's free. A lot of great resources on Instagram that we'll just link to. And if you guys have any questions, like, just shoot me a note. I'll just DM me. Like I get back to every single person.
Yes, let's do it, guys. I encourage you to go connect with Drew, download everything he tells you to download, and of course, buy the pre-workout as well, and drink the pre-workout while reading the downloads and working out. And please take a picture and a video of that and then tag us.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, this was so fun. With that said, thank you so much for tuning in to Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite channel on social media at BIZBROS.
That is right. And if Drew here helped you move one step forward towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode with 3 friends. That's right. Your ticket of admission. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review for us and for Drew.
Thank you, guys. Bye. All right.
Oh, dude, that was awesome.
Drew, we're still live. Okay. Quick tradition before we head out.
Yeah,
we gotta take a selfie. Bam. All right, hold on. Where are we? All right.
Did you get it?
I'm gonna count. 1, 2, and 3. Sweet.
Man, there you go. Awesome.
Social media. We'll see you guys on Friday. Take care.